Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get this meeting started Thursday, 6 p.m. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next item we got, are there any changes to the agenda?
Only for 2.1, Sergeant Boulos could not be here tonight, so we're going to move his recognition to the next meeting, but we'll still have the recognition for Sergeant Roush.
Council? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the modification from city manager.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Vosberg,
Aye.
Councilman Atkinson,
Aye.
Councilman Hedgecock. Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Horn.
And I vote aye. Okay, next we're going to move on to awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. Recognition of Sergeant Roush. Sergeant Bolos will not be here until our following meeting for the years of service to the city.
Good evening, Mayor, council and staff, and community. The Coalinga Police Department recently had 2 of its members retire, and one being Sergeant Alex Roush. So we have this opportunity, the city and the police department, to recognize the sergeant. So if Alex, would you come up? This plaque, and it states here to Alex Roush, in recognition of your dedicated service to the Coalinga Police Department and the community of Coalinga, April 2009 to March of 2023. And just want to say thank you, Sergeant. You had an opportunity to do a lot for this department, and I've only been here for a year, but that major drug investigation, working with the DEA, you've made a huge impact on our community to make it safer, and I want to thank you for that dedication that you've done. And I think, Darren, I think your former sergeant would like to say a few words. Our former chief, excuse me.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Very well. This is a special day for me. As you know, it's 420, so it means a lot.
How was your golf game today?
As one over on the back nine, thank you. But as a dope cop, to have this award on 420, it means a lot, so thank you.
Hey, I just want to say congratulations on your retirement. With over 30 years of law enforcement under your belt, you've deserved this day, and I wish you the best in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Want to say a few words?
Oh, sure. To all the council, new and former, and the city manager and everyone, chiefs, past and present, it's been a pleasure. I talk to a lot of former law enforcement, and I think sometimes they don't believe all the stuff that I was able to do and accomplish. It was almost more of a TV show than it was a job. I truly mean that. It was fun, enjoyed it. Yeah, we worked hard. D was my right-hand man back in investigations, and there were some super, super long days. Payroll was like, how can you have this many hours in 2 days? Well, that's the way we did it. And like I said, I had great support from above and next to me, and like I said, it was just like a TV show. We had a lot of fun, we worked hard, and we accomplished a lot of great cases. So, thank you.
Roush, I need you back up there for a minute. I got another award for you.
Now, hopefully it's not to arrest me for impersonating an officer, because I did see that I have a little badge on here, and I thought, uh-oh, I'm a civilian now.
I made it a point to go get a couple other plaques made. I paid for these myself on behalf of the entire city. This is a plaque for recognition for all the years that you have provided safety for Coalinga. And it's well appreciated, it really is. And thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Here's your bag. These are both yours right here, too. Perfect, thank you.
Again, thank you to everybody that supported surrounding me, so team effort on all these things.
Roush, you're coming out of retirement August 1st for National Night Out, right, for the dance competition?
And dunk tank.
Oh, no.
You gotta show up Simons.
So,
Just saying.
let's just put it this way. The city will never be the same again.
Now with that pink tutu.
It will be well record.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item within the jurisdiction of the council. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern, identify themselves, and use the microphone. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. In accordance with the state open meeting laws, no action will be taken by the city council this evening, and all items will be referred to staff for follow-up and a report. Citizens' comments submitted in writing to the city clerk by 5 p.m. of the day of the city council meeting shall be distributed to the council and included in the record. However, they will not be read. We have anybody who would like to speak?
Hilda Crawford. Hi, good evening. I'm just here to represent the library, just to let you know what we're going to be having next week. Next week will be our National Library Week, and so we have a slate of programs that'll be taking place on Tuesday, April 25th. We're going to be closed Monday, but on Tuesday, April 25th, it's unlimited computer use upon availability, and then we're going to have fun eats at 5:15 to 6:30. We're going to be making Twinkie Bunny race cars. So if you're interested, you're more than welcome to come in and participate. Everything is free. Everything is provided for you. And then on Wednesday, the 26th, we'll be showing the movie. It'll be movie night. It's Maverick Top Gun. And everything, all the events begin at 5:15. And then Thursday will be bingo. And then we won't have anything Friday, but on Saturday, we're going to have our game days there at the library, and we are going to have our blood drive. So if anybody wants to donate that blood that didn't get to for the high school, the bus will be there on Durian Street from 11 to 3. And we are very fortunate to we'll be able to have the police department as well as the police department and the Coalinga Fire Department. So everything is free at the library. Just come in and bring your little ones or bring yourself. And thank you, Lonnie, for getting a library card today. It was good to see you. You didn't wear oh, you do have your sticker. There it is. Oh, he has a sticker. Says, I got my library card today. So proud of you. And that's it for the library, but I do have a question that my husband asked me to bring up. You know, he's a school board member, so they meet, I want to say, at the old Neely's office, and he says that the light on the corner of 5th and Birch has been out. It's by the mortuary. So you know how they don't care for board members sometimes, city or school. So, you know, it's dark when they walk out. So I know it's not on the agenda, but just to let you guys know in case somebody can look into that. Says it's been out for a while now. So that's it. Thank you.
A question for you again, real quick, because I didn't catch the date. What was the date of the blood drive?
It's this I probably didn't announce it. It's April 29th. It's Saturday from 11 to 3. So the vampires will be out. So come donate your blood. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
I don't usually come up here,
Good evening, everybody. So I wanted to speak on Alex's part real quick. Well, he was my boss, and then I promoted. But he's still my boss. But I just want to thank you guys for allowing him to work here for as long as he did. I learned a lot from him. I feel that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him in my position. I learned a lot from him. He's a great guy, and I just want to tell you, Alex, that this is a long friendship, like you and Kel had. Me and you are going to be friends forever, and I just want to thank him for everything he's done for me, and was by my side the whole time. So thank you and congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else?
Evening, Scott Netherton, Coalinga Chamber of Commerce. Let me apologize in advance. I timed this. I couldn't get it under 4 minutes, so I apologize. These are our T-shirts for this year's Derby. I wanted to give you guys an update on what's coming. This year, our theme we're not honoring, but we're definitely remembering the 40th anniversary of the earthquake. The theme is 1983 to 2023, Risen from the Rubble. And we have a lot of great things planned. Our royalty court right now, between the Little Miss, Little Mr., Queen, King, Prince, and Princess, we're sitting at about 16 nominees. Right now, they're currently selling the all-day ride vouchers. They're the only ones that are selling them until April 30th. After May 1st, they will continue to sell, but then they will be available at other locations throughout the community. This year, we're also proud to be hosting the Big Fred Memorial Softball Tournament. We anticipate filling the bracket between 12 and 14 teams. We currently have over half of those signed up, and several from out of town that are still filling their rosters. The Horn Toad races obviously will be on. And this year, something that we've added, there will be 2 paid concerts, one on Saturday night and one on Sunday night. And I do want to emphasize to everyone that there will be many bands and many entertainment activities for the families in the community that are free throughout the day up until the paid concerts begin. So we're just trying to find that balance of what we can provide as a service and yet still bring in the level of talent and entertainment that we feel we've had to travel out of town to get for so long. And we just want to find that balance so we can provide the best Derby experience we can for the community. Other activities will be happening is, of course, our annual Memorial Parade on Saturday, May 27th. We're reaching out far and wide to bring as many school bands, organizations, class reunions, floats, and participants as we can to honor our fallen heroes. Last year, we brought back a couple of old traditions, the bed races, which were a hit, and the trike races. This year, those will be happening once again. We hope the community will come out, support, and join in. On the amusement carnival side, Butler will have between 19 and 21 rides on site with 10 to 12 carnival games as well. We've confirmed 22 food vendors, 18 merchandise sales, and 7 informational booth participants at this time. I gave each of you some flyers. I just wanted you to take a look at those. An area we've always struggled with is activities for the young kids. It is not that Butler can't provide rides for our little kids. It's that OSHA limits the height kids are permitted to be on for any mechanical devices to pretty much 42 inches tall. That being said, we had to think outside the box. So on those pictures you have, we'll be bringing in all aboard train rentals. They'll have a small train station where they will sell tickets for kids to ride around a set path through the portion of the park. The next one I saw last year at the Big Fresno Fair. It's all of our livestock. They will be selling tickets for camel rides. We are also excited to bring in the Global Livestock Petting Zoo. They have sheep, calves, goats, llamas, ponies, donkeys, and I even saw a kangaroo. Something else I believe the kids will love to see is we're bringing in the Dinosaur Kingdom. The dinosaurs will wander the park and interact with the crowd. They'll do some dances, and they love to take pictures. Fabian's Pony Rides will also be on site. The last one I'm probably most excited about is the Rawhide Express Tram. This tram pulls 2 passenger cars that will seat up to 58 people at a time. It also includes a wheelchair ramp on the back, as you can see in the pictures. We will be setting up a schedule in various locations of the community where it will go and pick up people and bring them back to the park. This tram will begin operating every day 30 minutes before the park opens and run continuously until 30 minutes after the park closes. It will help transport as many people as possible to and from the Derby. On the final page that I gave you is a map of Coalinga and the train stop locations we plan to have set up. It's this last one here. We plan on having one out at the trailers by the hospital, the park at Postas Chenet, by West Hills College, by the fountain, Keck Park, between Stallion Springs and Fox Hollow, the houses out behind PG&E, and of course Sandalwood Park as well. That tram will run nonstop, helping get as many people to and from the park as we can to help alleviate the congestion of all the traffic, and hopefully get some people out and some kids there that can't get out there on their own. So all of this kicks off on 3 o'clock Friday, May 26th, and we're excited. And I'll be back before then with a lot more updates, but that's where we're at now. All right, thank you guys.
Scott?
Yes.
It's still gonna be over there,
It
right?
will, yes, in fact, it will be at Olson Park this year.
So it is gonna be Olsen Park? Okay, sounds good. Yeah, a lot of
This
people
year.
were like, didn't know if it was Olsen Park.
No,
or-
I put back out there, once we had our last board meeting and I was given direction of what I could and couldn't put out there. Yeah, we did put something out letting everybody know that it will be at Olson Park this year.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay? All right, thank you guys.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing that we have none, we'll go ahead and move on. We have nothing for public hearings. We'll move on to the consent calendar. What would council like to do? Consent calendar, yes.
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Atkinson,
Aye.
Councilman Vosberg,
Aye.
Councilman Hedgecock,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Horn.
And I vote aye. Okay, next, we're going to move on to 6, ordinance presentation, discussion, and potential action items. Our first one, we have 4 items tonight. Our first one is appoint new planning commissioner to the planning commission, Sean Brewer. And we do have somebody on Zoom as well.
He's actually not here.
Oh, he didn't make it. Should we hold that off until number 4? And
I think he
move on
said
to
that
the
he
other
was,
ones?
I had looked at, he wasn't on there earlier, so I reached out. He should be on, so, can we move it down on the agenda? We can try to get him on.
Yeah, give him a little bit of time, maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
We can coordinate that, thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and switch 1 to 4. And then we'll move on to item 2, discussion, direction, and potential action regarding appointments to the City of Coalinga Transparency and Accountability Committee. Marissa.
Thank you. So this item is on the agenda for the transparency committees. We have received some applications for the various committees. We do still have some seats that we did not receive either enough applications for or any applications for. And so this item is on the agenda for council to discuss and decide how you would like to move forward. There's a list of the committees on the staff report as well as who's applied for each committee. The Public Safety, City Beautification, Code Enforcement, and Animal Control Committee, which is one committee, would have 2 members from each district, each council district. All other committees would only have 2 members total.
What would council like to do with this? Wait until there's more, or go ahead and vote and then try to appoint the next?
Well, we currently don't have anyone from District 3 on the public safety. But at this moment, I'd be willing to go with filling the positions and adding more as they come, if that pleases the council. That way we can get started on this.
Yeah, I agree. That way we can get the program going. Okay, so, do we want to vote for each one, or do we want to write it in? Or,
So we can start with the Public Safety Committee, that's the largest. So for District 1, sorry, my microphone's not on. For District 1, there's 4 applicants, so you would need to choose 2. Those applicants are Mary Jones, Justin Milligan, Taylor Monroy Cisneros, and Rocco Papietro.
Isn't councilman from that district the one who's picking? That's how we worded it.
I don't remember. I don't know if that's how we did it, if we were going to open it to the council to.
I think that it would be fine as long as council agrees that the council person for their district gets to decide, although Councilman Vosberg doesn't have anyone to pick. Do you have 2 that you would like for District 1?
Well, I definitely like Justin Milligan because he's in the fire department, so him for sure. I believe Taylor has applied for the open seat for District 1.
Correct.
So for the possibility of her possibly getting the seat, not saying she is, just saying there's a possibility she may get it, I should probably not pick her, because then we'd be picking again for that position. Was Rocco gonna show up, or Mary?
Mary is out of town, and Rocco should be connecting for the Planning Commission item, but I don't believe he is yet.
Okay,
Just signed in.
Okay.
so
He just signed in. We can try. If he'll answer.
I guess what I would say is let's wait and see where the planning commission vote goes, and then we'll come back to this to see who I would pick for the rest of my district.
District 2? You have 3
I've got, yeah, I've got
applicants.
3. I've got James Cavins, Bona Darnell, and Richard Hill. It's kind of hard to do because they're all pretty well qualified for pretty much anything we throw at them. I would suggest quick question though for Richard, if you can come up here. You're going to be running for the Planning Commission as well, correct? That seat?
That is correct.
Okay. If I were to hold off on this, would you be okay with that? To see exactly what happens with that before I make my decision on the 3?
Why can't I do both?
I just want to make sure it's not any type of a conflict with being on multiple boards.
I mean, I understand
All
what
right,
you're
well,
saying.
looking at it, it's actually not going to be a conflict. So my 2 for now, once we get this program going, we'll see, we might end up with more, would be Bona and Richard Hill for District 2.
District 3, you have no applicants. District 4, you have 2, Tom Dominguez and Jess Rosales. And then District 5, you only have 1 applicant so far, which is Jim Allen. So everybody's good with the appointments to those committees?
Okay, so we'll move on to,
The next one is the sales tax.
yes. Oh, where's it at?
And you have 2 applicants for that. You have James Cavens and Justin Milligan. Justin was already appointed to Public Safety for District 1, so I don't know if you want to reopen that one or if you want to move forward with appointing him. There is no rule that says someone can only be on one committee, but I don't know if there's an interest in being in both or if he applied for one in case the other didn't work out.
So we don't know if he would take 2 appointments right now.
Correct.
All right, so,
Justin's a go-getter, he'll do it.
all right. Well, if he'll do it, then I'll appoint him, and I think we should open it up again for the second appointment.
Is that the consensus of the council?
And that's for, just for District 1, or is that for,
No,
that would
so
cover
all-
all, just, that's the only 2 applicants, or 1 applicant that there was altogether?
There's 2 applicants. So every committee, with the exception of that public safety, all other committees have 2 community member appointments. The public safety committee has 2 per council district. The others only have 2 total.
Is council okay with appointing the one and then opening it back up to the public and see if anybody else would be interested?
There is a second one. You have James that applied also.
Right. I think we're trying to get for, how many districts? For all 5 districts, we're trying to get a couple from each one. So, we've got 2 on here that have applied. I believe they're both in 2 different districts already. So we would need 1 more from those District 1 and
There's only
District 2.
There's only 2 total to be appointed.
all 2,
From
not 2
where-
from
it
each
doesn't
one?
matter where they
Okay,
live, yeah.
okay.
And then after that, then you'll have to decide for water. You have 4 applicants and only 2 positions to appoint.
All right, what would council like to do then with the 2 applicants?
Are we still on the sales tax?
Yes, we're still on the sales tax.
So I think that, just my personal opinion, that the people that are going to be chairing those committees should be, have some pertinent say to that, since again, it's gonna be their committee. So I'm gonna go with whatever the council wants to do.
So for sales tax, the 2 council members are Councilman Atkinson and Mayor Horn.
I'm still saying what I said before. We'll appoint Milligan and open it back up for the second appointment for the reasons that I passed around.
Okay, since we're gonna just do the one, is it okay that are we able to table this until the following meeting and see if we can get some more applications before we go any further? I
Just
know
for
that, I
sales
just wanna
tax?
make sure there's no conflict.
Just for
with
sales
any-
tax
yeah,
or
just
for all
the
of them?
sale- Just for the sales tax
Yes.
part.
And then for water, you have 4 applicants, Martin Jones, Dan McKay, Robin Scott, and Roger Tiffin. And from those 4, you need 2 total.
What was that, what was the names
So
again?
that 2.
Martin Jones,
right here.
Dan McKay, Robin Scott, and Roger Tiffin.
I believe this one is Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez and Councilman Vosberg. What would you guys like to do?
So I've personally seen Mr. Tiffin here time and time again giving ideas about water and being fully involved in the water. And I've also seen Ms. Scott has done a lot to try and get involved in the water too. I like those two. I understand that I'm not the only person on this committee though, so I'm just throwing names out there. And I'm not saying the other ones wouldn't be great either. I'm just looking at who I see show up to council meetings and who has an opinion and a voice, and who I've personally talked to about the water issues, and we've kind of went back and forth, and so I just think they would be interested in this.
Shoot. Well, what is everybody's thoughts about Martin? Yay or nay? We'll just hash this out without doing it on paper.
So I like Martin, but I don't see that he's, been to a ton of council meetings, and I kind of take that into consideration, who's involved. He's very intelligent gentleman. Obviously the husband of the press that's here all the time.
The next one is Dan McKay.
Dan's not presently here. He was our chief plant operator for the water plant for many years before he retired.
So I think we would be able to utilize him for our water issues that we're having to an extent. And then we have the USBR for the rest of it.
Okay.
I agree.
My suggestions are Roger Tiffin and Dan McKay. Those are my suggestions.
So we could, since I pretty much said, hey, let's go with Roger, then how about we have the Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I was looking at them again, Mr. Griffin too, as well.
I think all these people would be good. It's hard to
Yes,
choose.
exactly.
It's very hard to choose these positions. so-
Yeah, they all get involved. They come to the meetings. They have a lot of input, a lot of experience in water, in different sources. And I just think myself, Mr. Demike being at the water plant, Mr. Giffen being and dealing with all that, I think we have a lot of movement on that.
Just so everybody knows, even though there's multiple names on here, the citizens, any other citizens from any district can come to the meetings at any time. They will be run like a meeting, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get all involved into it, but you might have a way to be able to have your say, and at least get your point across and see what's issues we're actually having from a different point. So is that the consensus, for Dan McKay and Roger Tiffin for the water?
Can I recap so someone can make a motion for me? Okay, Public Safety District 1, Justin Milligan. District 2, Vonna Cabral, and and Rick Hill. District 3, there was no one to appoint. District 4 is Tom Dominguez and Jess Rosales. District 5 is Jim Allen. Sales tax is Justin Milligan, and water is Dan McKay and Roger Tiffin.
I'll motion for that, as you spoke.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Hedgecock,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Councilman Vosberg,
Aye.
Councilman Atkinson,
Aye.
Mayor Horn.
And I vote aye. Okay, I believe our next one is Public Safety, City Beautification, Enforcement, and Animal Control Committee.
That's the one we did by districts.
Yes, by districts. That's the first one and last one.
Yes.
Oh, on every single one of them. Okay, then we are good then. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move back up. Is Rocco on? Okay, we'll go ahead and move back to appoint new planning commissioner on the planning commission. Sean.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, staff's recommending approval or appointment of one planning commissioner from the applicants received from the advertisement to the general public due to a recent vacancy. As we mentioned at the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, Commissioner Jacobs' term ended on April 16th, and he advised staff that he was not going to be seeking reappointment. And so on April 16th, there was a vacancy on the Planning Commission, which would need to be filled. In March, the council directed staff to advertise for the vacancy to gather interest in the position, and staff advertised the available position as a public notice, as well as social media and the website, and we received 3 applicants. So staff received applications from James Allison, Rocco Papietro, and Richard Hill, and staff, we attached copies of the applications for your review. And so at this point, we have advised the applicants that they would be considered for appointment at tonight's meeting. And so once the council is ready to appoint a candidate, a member of the council should make a motion nominating a member to the public, to the commission, and then vote accordingly if that's the way council sees fit in terms of the process. So with that, I will vacate, and hi, Rocco, and James Allison and Richard Hill are in the audience.
We'll go ahead and start off with you. Would you like to say anything? Rocco?
I would. So hopefully you can all hear me. And you can. Good. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. First off, thank you for allowing me to participate this evening via Zoom. I have been a resident of Coalinga since 1978, approximately 45 years, originally coming here to attend West Hills College and then just never leaving. As I said previously, I have always maintained that if you're going to live in a community, you must become part of that community by giving back, and I have. I've been on our local school board, served on the Planning Commission for several years, as well as other community groups, and of course coaching as our children grew up here in Coalinga. I was living here before the 1983 earthquake and witnessed how important the Planning Commission is. To have a solid Planning Commission to help navigate the growth the city then faced. With all the help of a good, well-written general plan, design guidelines, the Commission was able to deliver clear recommendations to the Council to help rebuild our community. This is no different today than it was back then. We all want to see Coalinga grow and prosper going into the future. Now that I'm retired, I would like to serve our community once again by being a member of this Planning Commission. I believe I'm a well-rounded individual with good communication skills, common sense, and the ability to evaluate various topics and make recommendations on behalf of our community. So again, I'd like to thank the City Council this evening for considering me for this position. Thank you.
Okay, next, Richard Hill, would you like to speak?
Mayor,
Yes.
will we have time to ask questions? Did you want to do questions
Yeah, we can
individually?
do that real quick. before
Or
we
did
move
you
on.
want to come back to them?
No, we can go ahead and, we can do that. We'll do it, we'll go ahead and ask questions to each one, and then we'll ask each person to come up afterwards.
Thank you.
Council have any questions?
So I have 2 that I'm just going to ask to each one, so, unfortunately, Rocco is the first. Without agreeing whether you like cannabis or not, because obviously there's lots of people that have difference in opinions, but it has been a significant source of revenue to our city, and I know that some people, based on faith and moral values, will not vote in favor of permits that are legal by the state and legal by the city. And so my first question is, are you willing to vote in favor of those permits as long as they are recommended by staff?
Well, Councilman Vosberg, that's an interesting question to throw out on the table for the very first person, right? You're right.
It'll be the same person, it'll be the same for all of them. I apologize.
They just get a little chance to think about that answer. No, I've always believed that, what the city planner and Sean has always brings forward is the state mandate or what the rules are. And I feel that that's what we will abide by. I think that there's design guidelines that you've brought forward on distances to and from education, libraries, places that kids hang out. And I think that's what you go by is that, I think there's a place for personal preferences, and this probably isn't one of them.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question is, we've been dealing with issues with sensitive locations near schools and sensitive locations where our kids are. Can you just kind of give me an idea on if something were to come to you about, let's say, a hotel was going to be within, like 200 or 300 feet of a school, what would you think about that? And I apologize
So
that you're the first one getting these questions. They're going to be the exact same to everyone.
That's quite all right. I think obviously, there's a couple things that come to mind. I remember even on the planning commission, there was a point that we had to approve something for adult content coming to town. And we looked at areas that were outside in industrial areas, which is what was approved at the time. I think that all of those have to be done on a case-by-case basis, and I would hope that through the general plan and some other things, we've already addressed some of those guidelines, the basic distances that would be to that. And I think the hotel that you're referring to possibly, I think that could be a consideration of distance and where it's located. So again, personally, I would base some of that on what the staff brings forward as recommendations and options, and go from there.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Any other questions?
I had one that kind of had to do with Mr. Vosberg about the hotel. In a case where myself, I got into being a council member or participating a lot because of our youth, because I believe that our youth that are going to stay here and follow up throughout the community is very important. So if it came to where there was a business that had to do with the youth and deciding on a hotel, what's your view on that, knowing that a hotel will bring more revenue? But yet this would kind of forward our youth into being out in the streets, but yet being in activities with this.
Councilman Ramirez, I'm not really sure how to answer that one clearly. I think that the youth is our future of Coalinga, as well as our entire populace of Coalinga is the future of Coalinga, to make sure that we have the resources and we do planning so that we get businesses and other industries to come to town, which will then keep those youth and those young adults in town. So I think, again, do your due diligence. Some of that responsibility falls back on city staff to bring us clear recommendations and options, and go from there. I think obviously the Planning Commission is a commission that forwards their votes to the City Council, which is ultimately the power. So anything that the commission does, you all have the ability to veto that, basically.
Thank you.
I think that question was kind of leading towards the element that could possibly be there, because some of the hotels that are even here in town, I'm not sure what our ordinance is for the distance for sex offenders from schools. Do you happen to know that offhand, Sean? That's not, okay. I know state code is quite high, and I know that we have some certain businesses and certain hotels and stuff that are within that distance. So I think that might have been kind of what he was asking. We had an issue a couple months ago at one of the planning commissions. They were talking about someone bringing in a hotel close to the schools. And it was not well sought out.
And I agree. If that's the one probably on Washington, I would totally agree with that conversation.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Certainly, thank you.
And we'll go ahead and move on to Richard Hill. Yes, please.
I'm Richard Hill. I think most of you know who I am. I've also represented the city in many, many different organizations from West Hills College, also a graduate of West Hills College, been here for a long time. I was on the planning commission as well, and I was also the chairperson on the planning commission, and I was on there when we did the 25-year plan. On the planning commission, I believe that each planning commissioner needs to be able to come in with his own agenda, not coming in with a special interest agenda. And that means that you have to come in with an open mind and look at what's going to be the best interest for the community, not for my district or your district or the school district or the park district. You have to look at the whole picture. And when Sean brings something into the planning commission, I always had a question to Sean, like, staff recommends. Well, we have a planning commission that is making decisions. I don't feel like they need to be pushed into a corner by staff recommendation. I think they need to be able to read all the product that's being brought to them and as a whole make a decision. I mean, when Sean comes in, he'll tell us what he thinks, and we'll listen to him. But the planning commissioners need to make that decision. And when they're making these decisions, I mean, we're looking at, the use of our land. We need to make sure that we're doing it legally and not biased, not trying to build an entity for certain people. When we do the CUP recommendations, we have to understand what we're doing that for. The citizens don't necessarily know, but we try to get them to come to the meeting so they will know, as you guys know, and you do have the final vote. But as a planning commissioner, and I sat on it, I did it because I wanted to give back to the community like I do the chamber board and any other community I do. My whole goal is to make sure that Coalinga stays strong and moves forward. And we need to continue to move forward, not just become stalemate. And that's what's happened years ago. It seemed like the community became stalemate. Well, we have an opportunity with the people we got now to move forward and make change, And I feel like I can do that. I've done that already. Like I say, the Chamber of Commerce, we've moved forward on that. The West Hills College was on that oversight committee. We made that happen, and it worked. We kept all the money here. They didn't take it away from us. So I've got the knowledge to run and be on the planning commission, and I've been there before. So I'm ready for your question. Because I had time to think about it. No.
Go ahead.
All right. So, knowing that you have been with the Drug Awareness Council for the Elks, knowing that you're not a huge supporter of cannabis, are you able to make an unbiased decision if it comes to permits for these companies, knowing that not everyone in the town agrees that these companies should be here, but that they do provide an ample source of revenue?
We brought in the Elks. The Elks is very much against cannabis. And I have argued with the Elks because I said, look, this is legal in the state of California, blah, blah, blah. But the Elks are still very much against it, the big boys, So myself, when I did go against the building on the outside of town because of the water usage. So my concern has always been for the water usage. Am I against what they're doing? No, I have no problem with that. because what they're doing is legal. If their permits are legal by the state of California and the ordinance of the city of Kalinga, I have no problem bringing them in. And because they are a viable business, we get our tax basin, and we need to continue build up. And it also gives jobs. I look at the one out there going out of town. A lot of cars out there. There's a lot of young people and older people working out there, and it brings revenue into our community. And the name of the game is to keep our community growing with jobs. Cannabis is not a favorable thing with a lot of people. I'm not against it as long as it's legal and we understand the controlling and the use of the water, that they're not overwatering. And I'm sure that our water people are going to be on top of that. It's like any other business. You got good and you got bad. I have no problem with with the business coming in town, because let's face it, we're making money off it. And the name of the game is money and jobs for our community. I have no problem with it.
Okay, and then my second question is dealing with hotels and other establishments near sensitive locations like a school. We can use the Washington Hotel as the example, as Rocco kind of alluded to, and so we'll use that same example.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the hotel, but being too close to the school, I think what we run into is the traffic problem and a safety problem. I think that's a big problem if you start having hotels and apartments building too close to schools, because if it's a high school or elementary school, these kids, sometimes don't pay attention when they're walking across the street and they're not looking, and you got more traffic coming in that should be allowed for a school area or a park area. We're looking at a safety problem, and I would definitely be looking at that as the issue, as it being an apartment. If it's a legal apartment and it's kept up, clean, and maintained, it does do something good for the community. And it is, and we do need housing in Kalinga. I mean, right now, you can't get a rental hardly. It's really tough. So yeah, we do need apartments. But we need to watch out for the traffic control part of that and the safety part of it for our youth, because, I mean, I got a grandson, when he crosses the street, boy, he looks straight ahead, he's got tunnel vision. I constantly are telling him, you need to look right and look left. But that would be my concern, is the traffic part of it and the safety. But we need more housing, so I'm not against it. I'm not against building it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anybody else? I'm ready for you. Fire them out.
Any more questions, council?
Same as my question to Mr. Rock. As I've seen in a lot of cities, there's been hotels near schools, and I see in the news a lot, a kid or teenager end up in a hotel. Not saying that against building hotels, but as cannabis, would you think that it's a better idea to have a distant ordinance of hotels around school districts?
Well, that's something that on the planning commission as a land zone that we would have, it'd be up for discussion. I mean, for me to make that decision on my own, it'd be something that would need to be put in a round table, or maybe even get with the community involved, get people from different districts who maybe be around by the schools. And I don't think just the schools, but it'd be the same as with around a park. It is a danger. It could be a danger, and we don't want to have it turn into an apartment where, like down in Hollywood, where it just becomes a place of El Repute. So we would need to make sure that that's not being built next to our school. And how you do that is by maintaining our law enforcement and fire department, keeps on top of their codes. But as a planning commission, we would definitely have to go over and discuss it and plan ahead on that. I mean, for my personal view, let me step away from the planning commission for right now. I wouldn't want an apartment right next to the school. I mean, I really wouldn't. That's my personal opinion. But that would be, I would have to get out and do the discussion with the community and find out, because again, as a planning commissioner, I'm not gonna go in there with my agenda. You know, it has to be a majority, you know, opinion on all that. That's, you know.
And my other question is, with cannabis, we are, a few of the schools that let their students out to go out and eat and venture the town. It brings revenue, but what do you have in view that even if it does bring revenue, in your mind, would you think it would be better to build like some of the ones that are on outside of town instead of a close of the path of our young students that go through it?
Well, I believe that when we put it in the plaza, I was against that to start with, because the kids come right by it, they go right by it to go to lunch. I was against, I'll be honest with you, I was against putting it there. I wasn't against putting it, you know, having it. I was against having it across the street from a park. And then right next, you know, right down the very sidewalk, the kids go to Fatty Albert's or Salty Pickle, whatever. I never thought that was a good location for neither one of those. But it is a liable business, is a legal business, and they are entitled. You know, we can't, you know, as a planning commissioner, because I don't like it, doesn't mean that I have the sole right to make that decision. But I don't think that it should be right in the path of the kids, because some of these kids are very, you know, impersonal, you know. They have a 21-year-old brother that's going in there and say, yeah, this is a great place, you should come in and look at it. You know, and I know that happens because my son told me that, you know. So I think we could put it not in the path of kids and not next to a park or by a church. I mean, I guarantee if you put it next to a church, you're gonna have hell on wheels on that one, you know, because the churches aren't gonna, they don't want it there. The same, you know, and I don't think it should be by the parks, but I'm not against, I don't want anybody to think that I'm against the business, because they're a legal business and they're entitled to come into our community and to make revenue and in our tax base. But I don't think it should be in the path of the kids. You're absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anything else? I'm waiting for you, man. You hit me, brother. Take it all. There you go. Anybody else?
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next one, James Allison.
James Allison, I've been a member of the community since 58 years now, so, and go ahead, Nathan, fire the questions away. Fire away, Nathan.
You guys have any questions for Mr. Allison as well? That's what he's asking.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask the same questions about
Marijuana?
about the cannabis.
Cannabis,
Yeah,
it would be on an individual situation, because right now the city has problems right now with tax money from cannabis already. Why would we keep allowing it to come in if they're not paying their taxes currently now? Why would we keep adding to that debt? So it'd be on a base-to-base situation.
Okay. And then the second one is about
The motel?
yes, distances.
It's, as long as it's within 500-600 feet of a school, there shouldn't be any problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Same kind of question. As we all know, they broke into one of the cannabis.
Yeah.
So if that was around the paths of where kids go eat, what's your view on putting something like that? Just as I explained to Mr. Hill, putting up something like that in the path. I'm saying I'm not against it. I'm saying let me finish. I'm saying that I'm not against it, but I'm saying we are one of the few schools that let our kids, you know, walk, and they do walk in a certain, you know, distance.
Right.
What's your beliefs on putting more, if there was empty lots, filling in those with cannabis if they came in? What is your feeling that?
If they come in, it shouldn't be a problem, because they're gonna, no matter wherever you put a building, the kids are gonna walk by no matter where it's at in town. So that's my deal about it. So if it's by a school, the state's got a law already, you gotta be so many feet away.
Right.
So that would be standard, so, yeah.
Yeah, as of right now, the state requires 2,000 feet
Yeah.
and 2,640 feet for habitual. ones that continually break the rules.
Right, but that's for a school, but like he was saying, you know, if they walking by, you can't stop them from walking by all over town,
Yeah.
so.
And another question was, if there was a building for youth that brought less revenue than a cannabis building, what's your view on that?
It would be for the children, it would bring less revenue, but we'd find a way to help support it somehow, the community would. Because, yeah, we used to have a rec center years ago that people don't remember, but we had one in town.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now what would council like to do on this? Go ahead and vote.
So I have a question of the process. Are we going to basically put up a nominee and then vote on it? Or are we going to get all of the nominees and then vote on them based on alphabetical order? Or how are we going to do this? This can be done a couple different ways.
It's my preference that you make a nomination, and then if someone else has a different nomination, they make that nomination, and then the city clerk would do a roll call for the first nomination made. So she would do roll call in order rather than doing them all individually, but that's just my personal preference. You guys can choose to do it either way.
How would you like to do it, Mayor?
Trying to pull my agenda back up. Well, I think it's gonna, we either do one at each time, or we run through each council member and ask them what they prefer, or we do a paper vote and then go from there.
I don't think are we allowed to do a paper vote? City Attorney?
Or does it have to be open completely? We'll have the answers, but,
Yeah, it needs to be open.
okay. Okay, then we'll,
So are you opening up for nominations?
yeah, we'll go ahead and open it up for nominations.
I nominate Richard Hill.
I'll second that. Any other motions? Nominations?
I'll vote for Mr. Hill.
Councilman Hitchcock?
I think either Richard or Rocco would be good. So since you all three already nominated Richard, I guess he's it.
Can we get a roll call, please?
And this is for Richard Hill.
Yes.
Councilman Vosberg.
Yes. Aye.
Mayor Horn.
Aye.
Councilman Hedgecock.
Aye.
Councilman Atkinson.
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez.
Aye.
Okay, thank you to all the applicants, and congratulations, Richard.
I just want to thank each one of the council members. You know, I will continue to do a good job for you, and if I have any questions or if I need any, any help, I have no problem coming and asking you, as well as if you need something from me, I'm there to help you as well. So we need to work as a team and to continue to build our city. I appreciate your vote of confidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item 3, discussion, direction, and potential action regarding the council rules of procedures. Marissa.
Thank you. So there is an attachment of the existing, what we commonly refer to as the Council Code of Conduct, and there is an update with all of the revisions. I did provide council with a hard copy that shows the tracked changes in red. So there are only a few items that I have questions on because there's more than one suggestion on language. and then there's some language input needed. So if you look at the first section that says decorum of city council members, item 1, council members shall. For HH, Mayor Horn had suggested that we add language that states not utilize cellular telephones during council meetings and turn them off. And Councilmember Vosberg submitted additional language that would conflict with that language that says not utilize cellular telephones during city council meetings to text or message pertaining to city business.
I put this in for a suggestion, just so we're not being distracted by our watches or our cell phones. We have the laptops, so if the citizens or anybody's wanting to message, we have these to be able to message as well. Me, I think it's just a distraction, because people are either looking down or they're not looking up and seeing things. That's why I put it in there. There was another one somewhere down the line, and it was for personal computers. I believe we don't have a way to protect one side or the other, I believe, right? If I were just to bring in a personal computer and use it instead of the city computer.
As far as sending messages or the
Sending
Wi-Fi
messages,
connection?
the Wi-Fi connection.
So our IT contractor suggests that if people utilize personal devices, that they don't connect to the city Wi-Fi, but they connect to the guest Wi-Fi. And that's the only issue with that.
Other than that, that's my reasoning on the cell phones and the watches, just so there's no distraction there.
I agree with the cell phone. They're too big of a distraction in our lives already. We don't need them while we're up here.
Mayor, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, cell phones run the world today. It's quick access to information. It's even faster than using your laptop because you can click and point on something and you can get the information right away. The other thing is about safety. And, you know, I have a daughter. She does things in 2 seconds and she's in trouble. You know, she likes to fall down. If anyone's seen my Facebook, you can see she has, you know, marks all over because where Band-Aids are, that there's absolutely nothing under the Band-Aid, but she likes to play that role. And so for safety concerns, you know, I think that we should be able to have them for safety concerns. I think keeping them off of city business will keep most of the distractions away from people. You know, but for a safety reason of being able to have it, so if something, you know, is happening at home, that I can get a hold of her or my wife. You know, I don't think that it's out of the realm. I think legally that we should refrain from using pertaining to city business. And the reason is because if you're having a meeting with somebody at the same time that you're having a meeting, that information should be accessible to the public per the law. And so I think the city attorney will agree with me on that. And so I don't know hardly any places that don't allow you to have a cell phone. I watch council meetings from all over the valley, and I don't know any of them who have a policy that state you can't have it, period. So I would say that I'd like to put in there that, hey, we you know, we don't want people to use them. That way that, you know, to have less of a distraction, and that we don't use them for city business. But I think it'd be a great, that would be a great compromise in between the two. That way we know we aren't texting people. If someone in the audience is trying to text us to, you know, influence our vote, or another council member is texting us, that's what I've seen cities have issues with, is that for the public's view, if we're up here texting something and we're looking at somebody, then it sets a view that we're having a side meeting. And I agree that that should not happen. So for that, I have made this amendment that we kind of compromise in between the two instead of not having them. You know, there's lots of things up here that are distractions. You know, the computer itself is a distraction a lot of the time, but a lot of the time also we're using it to find information. Information that we have to do on the fly where, you know, someone in the public has brought up something to our attention, and we're going to check it out and we're going to look at it and we're going to say, hey, is this something that we need to do? So I think I agree that it can be a distraction, but I think that we're all adults, and I think that we're able to minimize those distractions.
I was on the same page as seeing as the phone as being a distraction. But I think like Mr. Rocco said, it is part of our system now. Sometimes my computer don't work. Sometimes I don't get the messages. If there was an emergency, I understand there's other options. But I recently had this little thing where I went to a building and I turned on my phone, and my son had got hit with the baseball on his head. So I was late on that. I was late on taking him to the ER. So to miss something, if I had an emergency right now where he had something and I had to look, I'd rather keep it right next to me. Not to say that I will disrupt the whole meeting or anything, but we could adjust by putting signs in front of the door and saying, please lower your volume or silent your phone, as they do in courts. Even in courts now, they either tell you to silent your phone or turn them off. They don't tell you to get rid of them. So I think we could adjust that a little bit, because sometimes even this doesn't work, and I have to go to Plan B. So that's just the only view, because I wouldn't want either you guys, us, to just miss out on something that important. That's just my views.
Okay, then maybe I should modify it a little bit to where it says, keep them on silent, leave them off, keep them or not completely off, but off. So that way you keep it in front of you just for emergency only then. Other than that, we have a phone right there. And we have our chief and as well as our police department that are also watching this at the same time. So if there was an emergency, worst comes to worst, they can call the police department. But I'm fine with keeping the phones here, but just not using them, unless it's a like extreme emergency.
So I'll say this in front of everyone. I don't trust anyone with my own protection. That's me. Nobody's gonna protect me better than myself or my family. That phone over there, the people that are here, no. I'm my own personal protection. That's how it rolls. I think that we're adults, and I don't think that this is something, I put in the city business thing as kind of a compromise, but to be honest with you, I think we're adults. I've never seen this come down to where it's like, hey, we need to take your phone out of your hand as an elected city council person. So I would just keep my amendment as it sits, is we're not going to do it pertain to city business, but there are times when people need to use their phones. And I agree with you, we could keep them on silent. We could keep them to where they don't ring, things of that nature. In fact, before the meeting, I made sure I didn't have any alarms going off or anything like that. And I know that I agree with both of you that they can definitely be a distraction. But I also think that the security for having them outweighs the distraction that they could provide. And with the event that happened to you, it just makes it sink in even more to me, that if something were to happen to my little girl, and I'd be waiting for a phone to come across there, or I'd be waiting for someone in the audience to get a phone call, that I could miss those key moments. And to me, that's the reason I want to stand firm on this.
Okay, so if we leave it the way both my item and his, the way it's worded right now, I'd still at least like to have where it's emergency only. Have it in front of us. We're able to have it on, no volume, no vibration, nothing, and for emergency as well. And then if we do get something like that, to please leave the podium or the dais.
Yeah, and we could get signs out there saying just, silence your phone.
Just so everybody knows, this is not for the citizens. This is just for the council, that's all. It has nothing, it's not with the citizens. Citizens are already required to turn their volumes to silent, and they're allowed to take video and whatever else. So it's not, doesn't pertain to citizens. It's just for the council. Roger.
Hi, I'm Roger Tiffin, and I've got a personal experience. I was sitting on a board out of Kingsburg. We're in the little town of London. My mom had a stroke. I'm the person that can sign. I'm the caregiver. Nobody would make a decision. If I'd had my phone turned off, it could have been very detrimental to her health. So I think if in that kind of situation, I'm concerned, I would even want you to have it on vibrate. Somebody needs to be able to get a hold of you in a life-threatening situation. And I'm wondering if you pass a rule that you can't, if you're opening up a liability to the city, if something should go south. So, yeah, you need to be able, your family needs to be able to get a hold of you in an emergency. Thank you.
Can I ask that we just go through council? I mean, since we're obviously not going to agree on this, maybe we just go person by person and you get consensus of the council.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start out. We'll start out with District 1 first. Councilman Atkinson.
I agree with the amendment that Councilman Vosberg has presented.
And I agree with both of us, except that I want it worded to where it's an emergency. We're able to have them on silent with no vibration, or turn the vibration down, but use it for emergency. That way we can at least see if there is something. The phones will light up. Councilman Vosberg.
Well, I did offer this as a concession. I don't even think that it should be in here, to be honest with you. But I am going to say that I prefer, my amendment. So that's where I'll stand.
Well, I'd like to change and say I don't believe it should be in there.
Councilman Ramirez.
Actually, Mr. Giffen couldn't explain it any more clear, but took the words right out of my mouth, and I would like to just, I understand, be respectful. We're adults. If somebody's texting me or calling because the Giants or the Niners are winning, nah. But if somebody's calling me about my kid getting hit with the baseball and has to go to Valley Children's, I think I know where my voting is at. So I vote that we change. If we change it, we just keep it how it is.
Councilman Hitchcock.
The silent with the emergency use is fine.
Yeah, council will still have their phones in front of them, and the actual power will be on, just not everything else. That's all. That's the only difference. We're not. You're right on. If we were to shut them off altogether, what if? So I'm agreeing with keeping them on, just making sure that they're off volume and silent for emergency, and
So-
still have visibility of an actual working phone.
Under thinking about what the rest of the council or the majority would be, I actually changed my vote to not having this in there at all.
Do we need to do a roll call, or just leave it as it is, 3-2?
It's just
Consensus?
It's just consensus on language. I'm going to be making notes because what's going to have to happen is you'll get a clean version of whatever you agree to that will be on the next agenda on the consent calendar to just approve. Not approve, I guess.
Okay, we'll go ahead and let's move on to the next item, which is section II, be deemed to have forfeited his or her title to office upon failing to attend 4 consecutive regular meetings without excuse.
So that's already in the ordinance. So that's just adding it because I get that question a lot. So it doesn't change anything. I just added it so that people can look in the code of conduct and know what the rule is. But what I had planned to do was just go through what I need answers on because I figured that people may have had their own notes from reading it, and then at the end, if there's something that anyone wants to go back to or object to from language submitted, that way we can all just get the questions answered, if that's okay. So on page 16, there's a section that says roll call attendance, and there's some language that conflicts with what we actually do currently. Page 16. So under roll call attendance, it states on item 4, council members attending a council meeting through teleconference are counted when determining a quorum unless they are not within city limits of Coalinga. So I'm asking if you want that language to remain or if we can remove it, because that's not what we currently do. So if someone is attending, if one of the council members is attending the council meeting via Zoom and they are out of city limits at a conference somewhere, we are still counting them and their votes and counting them in the quorum to have a present council. And that's not what the code of conduct currently states.
With COVID, it changed, right? I mean, we were doing Zoom and all that. It wasn't added? Was it added? No, it wasn't, right?
No, so you can still do Zoom. It's just now we're back to the pre-COVID rules. So the agenda has to state where you will be attending from, and the public has to be allowed to attend from where you are if they so choose.
Yeah. I know a lot of cities are doing that. When myself and Councilman Bosberg went to Sacramento last week, after each meeting that we had in the evening, there was mayors all over the place that had their agendas posted up, and there was mayors actually sitting right next to each other, going over their own meetings at the same time. So it is possible to do that, and I believe that's how we do it. As long as we post the agenda, we put the address of where it's at. That way, if any random citizen would like to come in and actually watch the meeting or voice their opinion, they're able to at that facility.
And that would not change. So I just need direction on whether you want me to remove this language or not, which is what I would recommend, because the language is in conflict with what we currently do.
Can I ask a question, Mayor?
Yes.
For the city attorney, I am all in favor of removing this section and allowing us to, as long as we follow the Brown Act, by posting that we do that. Is it legal for us to remove this and to do that in that fashion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a consensus to remove?
Any?
The next section,
Excuse me, can we just get clarification for everyone? So just how that works, what we're going to agree on for that exact item?
The removal.
So people will be able to teleconference, for instance, if they're sick, if they're at the hospital,
so they
if they're
can
somewhere else.
already. It's
Okay.
just that the language stated that they weren't counted as part of a quorum.
Okay.
So if we had 2 council members physically present and 1 participating via Zoom, the language states that we wouldn't have a quorum, so we wouldn't be able to hold the meeting, but that's not what we currently do.
Okay, and can I ask that if, when we get consensus, that we go to each council member so that we make sure that everyone understands and that we're okay with it? If that pleases the mayor.
Yeah, because usually, if we're not gonna have three council members, we just cancel the meeting, right?
Yes, so if there's not at least 3 council members, the meeting would be canceled. In this instance, if we had 2 physically present and 1 on Zoom, it would still count as a quorum if we remove the language.
I say we remove the language because that it opens us up to where it's easier for us to actually have quorum when there's only 1 or 2 council here and the other 1 or 3 or 4 are able to do at least telecommunication.
I'm in favor of getting rid of it. Councilman Hitchcock and I are constantly traveling, it seems like, and we're always having to do it through Zoom or whatever, so I agree with getting rid of it.
But we still have to let you all know ahead of time that we're doing it.
Yes, that way the address can be posted on the agenda. Okay, I think that's our consensus, is to remove.
Okay, so the next that I need direction on is page 21. There's 4 items that say additional items requested by Vosburgh. So these are items that I could not develop for you because they really need to come from the council. Item 1 says, add a section on all things censure. What is a censure? What are censurable offenses? Which censurable offenses have consequences? What are the consequences? How is it decided that a censure and a consequence are applied in a fair and equal manner?
And that's for city, not county, correct?
Correct. And if it pleases the council, we could make an addendum to the code of conduct that would just go over this, so that if we wanted to, we could table this section so that we don't have to go into detail on it, and then bring it back to go into detail at a time that the staff and everyone has got this information. I just feel like that if we're going to bring forth a censure on somebody, that at least they know what they're being censured for, and that at least we give them a chance to say to themselves, hey, it's in writing. I shouldn't have done that. And so then it's not something that we willy-nilly bring forward. And I'm not saying we have willy-nilly brought things forward. I'm just saying that way that it's in writing. If you do this, you could be censured for doing it. And I think that kind of protects the city and it protects all of us, so that then we know what we're doing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I put going over the code of conduct on the agenda. At least it would be technically the second meeting for new council every 2 years. So that way everybody goes over it. That way if there's any other changes, or if there's something that the new person hasn't gone through or doesn't understand, we can at least discuss it then. So I'm fine with tabling that part of it so that it can get worded completely correctly. And once it does, then maybe do it with email, or do we have to bring it back to change that?
So someone needs to develop the language, and I don't feel it's appropriate for staff to tell council what you should censure each other for, or what is a censurable offense. So it could be something that would be a discussion item at a later date that could be added as an addendum, but it really should come from like a workshop with council or language from council, because those are what you're going to hold yourselves to.
I agree with that.
Well, since it's mine and Vosburgh's item on this one, would you like to table this tonight, and then maybe in the next week sit down together, go over exactly how it needs to be worded, and then bring it back and have it finalized?
If that pleases the council.
Is that okay with the council?
Yes, yes.
Okay, consensus is yes. We're going to go ahead and table this items 1 through 4.
So 2 through 4 are actually separate from item 1. So it was in regards to the language changes to the agenda for public comment. And so Councilman Vosburgh had stated he would like to change citizen comment section to state it is reserved for items not on the agenda. Would like to change the ordinance presentation, discussion, and potential action item sections to allow citizen comments. And then would like to change the consent calendar section to allow citizens' comments on pulled items. However, since then, we had a conversation and came up with a compromise so that our meetings aren't lasting forever. And so I can explain that if you'd like.
Please.
Yes, please.
So I researched what some other cities do to allow more public comment without having people stand up and comment on every single agenda item. And so public comment would still be as it is now. You can still speak on anything not otherwise on the agenda or within the jurisdiction of the council for 3 minutes. But if you have something that you would like to speak on that is a agenda item that's on the consent calendar or a discussion item, the council chamber doors would open 30 minutes prior to the start of a council meeting, and you would fill out a comment card. You would need to make sure you have it to the city clerk by 6 o'clock, and she would organize them, or I should say at the start of the meeting. Sometimes the meetings may not start at 6 o'clock. And she would organize those in the order of the agenda items. And so, for example, like on the agenda tonight, if Hilda filled out a card saying she wanted to speak on item 6.1, then what would happen is when we got to that item on the agenda, we would have the staff presentation, the discussion from council and any questions by council, and then there would be a section for anyone who filled out the comment card to speak on that item.
Yeah, so I think that just sparks a good compromise in between the two. I mean, not the mayor, the meeting can get out of hand by just going back and forth and back and forth. And because of that, staff's time is precious, council's time is precious, and the public's time is precious. So we just want to make sure we look over all of that at the same time, and that way that people can still get their comments in, and it allows the meeting to run smoother. I was looking for a way that we could keep public comment in, but at the same time, keep things moving. And so a lot of this came from city manager. I basically just put out what I thought would be a nice idea, and she ran with it and found a solution that she felt would fit. And I appreciate that.
I agree.
Does that mean that you would just read their comment on the card, or would they be able to address it?
No, so the city clerk would call them up to speak. But it allows people more opportunities to speak. So for example, like if Hilda wanted to use her 3 minutes under public comment to share something about the library, then she wouldn't have, in our current state, she wouldn't have an opportunity to have another 3 minutes on item 6.1 because she used her 3 minutes under public comment. So she could fill out a comment card prior to the start of the meeting to come up and speak on that item. Sorry for picking on you.
And this will be only on the items that are pulled, correct?
It would be on the items that are pulled from consent or prior to the consent calendar being approved, or any of the discussion items. A public hearing would still operate like a public hearing operates now, where the public comment period is open and you don't need to fill out a comment card. So public hearings and public comment periods would remain the same. It's only for the consent calendar, the ordinance presentation items, and technically it would apply to closed session too, although the closed session items are very vague, so you probably wouldn't know what it is that you're talking about in regards to the item.
And this really takes care of 2, 3, and 4 at the same time, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Would council be okay with that format? Yes. Okay, so then that's really all I needed direction on. There are several other changes that are on here. There's also some items within the staff report that Councilman Vosberg had submitted. There's 9 items there. So at this point, if there's anything that any council member does not want in the code of conduct, let me know and you guys can discuss it so that I can bring you back a clean version at a future meeting to approve.
On these items, are we going to put in there that they can be modified and changed at any time during the year at the council's discretion? If it needs to be changed, if it doesn't work, or if we need to try something different?
If council would like, we could add that language.
Is that okay? All right.
Absolutely.
And I think the way we're going to try to get this set up for each individual year is we'll bring it in February, the first meeting in February. That way we have our new installed council members every 2 years, so they'll be able to go over to the rules as well. And if there's any changes that we need to change to accommodate, we can do that then. That's what it's for. And then allow any other changes and modifications for the safety of the council and the city. So go ahead and add that wording into it a little bit then, at the end.
Can I explain just for a second about it?
Yeah, go for it.
So this wording actually was pulled from a couple different cities, the 1 through 9, and it was basically based on cities to try and help the council understand their role versus the staff. I know a lot of new council members get in, jump in, want to spend a lot of time at the city hall, but there are absolute rules of how much you can be involved and what you can do with the city staff. And so I just want to make sure that those are clear, because they are a lot of this is law, but if we don't know about it, you know, not everyone's a law hound and goes looking at stuff like this. Not everyone goes and says, oh, well, what's the separation of council and the staff, right? But this pretty much lays it out. I got a lot of this was from the city of Oakland. The city of Oakland just happened to have an issue where they had people staff shopping. Basically, what they were doing was a staff member would go to a council member and say, hey, I want this. And the council member would put it on the agenda. And other council members accused that person of taking a bribe to do such because it was something personnel related. And what they found is that there should be a direct chain of command. That if a staff person wants something, it should go to their direct supervisor, and that supervisor should go to the person that's in charge, and then it should go to the city manager to be brought onto the agenda. And that way it's not it's called end around when you do an end around. That also can help keep the budget in line, so that things that are not budgeted, because sometimes, you know, the staff members will think, hey, we need this, right? But really the city manager and the chief and the directors, those are the folks that they should go to get this information. They shouldn't be coming to council. And so this should be a direct separation in between those two. And not everyone knows this. And so I just want to make this very apparent that that's what should be done. This doesn't keep council from talking to staff. Obviously, council should inquire with staff on things that's going on, and recommendations can be made, you know, to the chiefs and to the city manager and stuff. But there's just certain items that really can get a city into trouble if not checked. And so this is kind of like basic stuff that like the League of Cities and people will talk about and some of this I think I did copy from the League of Cities, by the way. So it's not something that's unheard of, and absolutely if it needed to be changed in the future, we could absolutely change it. I think our city attorney did look this over just to make sure, and I did ask of that to make sure that this wouldn't overstep on anyone's toes and that it was legal. So is that correct?
I can't tell you that I personally did, but if you ask Mario to, I'm sure he did.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, I've read through it right now, and nothing stands out as an issue to me. It all seems good.
Thank you.
I'm reading all the wording and stuff, but it's almost worded to me that it's to prevent us from being able to talk to any of the city staff.
So the wording?
Even with us making suggestions as well.
So I don't see that in any of the wording. The wording is not to interfere. There's ways that people can interfere and not realize that they're interfering. There's a lot of things that people can do to coerce people or coercement coming backwards. I figured since we're doing the code of conduct, we should do it correctly. And we should go and just look at all the different things that are in there from all the different cities. And I spent a lot of time on this. So this isn't just something that came up. This wasn't directed towards any staff member or any council member or anything like that. And it absolutely, in my personal opinion, does not stop people from, and if you think that there's a word in there or a sentence that says that, then we could strike that if so be it, so that we can make sure that, because that's not the intent.
I can verify this was with the California League of Cities. Also, LA County uses the same, pretty much the same code of conduct that we use as well. So it's not going to be much. All we're doing is just rewording it so that way our verbiage is completely covered in every aspect that we can, so that way everybody's safe and nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gets sued, nobody gets fined, fired, any of it. So that's pretty much what the wording is for, is just to cover everybody.
I'd even be okay with sending it to approving the idea of it and having city staff and city attorney word this in their own language and then bring it back for us to be approved on the final draft, if that would make council feel more comfortable.
Yeah, please. Hitchcock? Good. Atkinson? Okay, I think we're good. We're gonna hold off on it. That way we can get it. Legal verbiage?
Yes, it'll be coming back to you for approval on a consent calendar at a future meeting.
So do we need to vote on the way it's written right now, minus the changes?
No, you'll vote on it when it comes on the consent calendar.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to our next item. Fiscal year 2023, 2024, proposed budget discussion and direction, personal budget proposal. Mai Vang.
I'll go ahead and start and then hand it over to Mai. So the way that we do our budget, there's some new people here that weren't here at the last meeting, so I'll explain it. We do our revenue projections generally every year at the end of April. And so the first meeting in May is when council and the citizens see a full budget picture, because that will have proposed expenses or operational expenses, proposed personnel expenses, and revenue projections. But in order to give it to the community in a more digestible version, we do a first draft that is just the operational portion of the budget so that everyone can see the needs in operations for next year. This item tonight shows the personnel budget for next year, and then the May 4th council meeting will have a full budget picture with revenue projections plugged in. So there will always be revisions to the budget each time that it comes to council, and this version of the budget contains the personnel budget, and I can just highlight some of the primary changes in the budget from last year to this year. So overall, there's a $364,551 increase in personnel that is spread across all funds. So that is not the general fund, that is all funds. That's about a 3% increase overall. Some of those changes are primarily due to a 12% increase on medical insurance. There's also some minor increases on our employer contribution for the CalPERS retirement system. One thing that we got really lucky this year with is that we have $0 of unfunded liability for all of our CalPERS plans, with the exception of the PEPRA, Public Safety, Police and Fire, which PEPRA is the name of the non-classic CalPERS plan. So that is what started January 1st of 2013. Those two plans have minor unfunded liability. It's actually very minimal. But all other funds don't have unfunded liability for next fiscal year. So the unfunded liability for the PEPRA Safety Fire Plan for next fiscal year is a total of $4,315. And on the PEPRA Safety Police Plan, it's $1,884. The other three plans have zero unfunded liability. The SDI did go down slightly, so it was 1.25%. This calendar year, it went down to 1% even. So there have been some changes. The only real change to personnel from the current budget that we're in to next year's budget is a request for 4 police officers, which would take us from 21 to 25 total. That may not be there in the next version of the budget. It depends on what the budget looks like when we plug in revenue. So that's the highlight of the major changes from the current fiscal year's personnel budget to next fiscal year's. Sorry, Mai, did you have anything you want to add?
No, you did a great job.
Thank you. So council can give us direction if you'd like. Otherwise, if you would like to hold off until that May 4th council meeting when you see a full budget picture, you can do that, which is generally what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suggest we hold off until May 4th, until we get the actual budgets. Then we can make our decision on the officers and any other positions that we need to figure out.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
So I would just like to tell for the entire public listening right now that if we can afford it, I absolutely want the 4 police officer positions. That's not a change from what I thought before, but I'm just making it apparent that We need all the public safety that we can get in this town, police, fire, as much as we can humanly afford and find more ways to afford. I'm in favor, and I believe the entire council is in favor of that. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I just did, so.
Yeah, I think most of us would agree we could use at least another 100 police officers, you know, and another 100 cars, have them all over the place. Nobody'd ever come to town. Wouldn't have to worry about crime then. But, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah, same with me. I would like to see at least 2 officers in that, see if we could afford them and go with it. I think animal control is really important, but I think Gimme Love is doing a very, very good job. I think I'd rather substitute an officer for animal control at the moment. But I'd like to see at least 2 out of the 4, and that's just my opinion.
I will wait for the full budget picture before I give my opinion.
I spoke to the budget wizard over there, and she assured me that there's other ways we can make cuts without cutting public safety, if it comes to that. So hopefully that's what we get to do.
Yes, same with Mr. Hayes. I think they would have told us that we couldn't afford it way, way before. So if we can make it happen, I would like to see it make it happen.
We'll move on to the next item, announcements. First one, city manager.
Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know that we did hire our animal control officer, so we do have a part-time animal control officer now. She is working 19 hours a week, and she started Monday of this week. May 4th, West Hills College is having a career fair. I think it starts at 10 a.m., but I'm unsure of the time, and it is open to everyone. And then we have our monthly Chiefs breakfast on Tuesday, May 2nd at 9 a.m. at Cafe 101.
When's it?
Tuesday, May 2nd at 9 a.m.
Council?
I'd just like to say, it makes me very happy when we have candidates like you guys and the ones that have applied for these committees to try to make our city a lot stronger. I know it's growing, and to see something like that it excites me, and it just drives me to do even more. I'm very happy with that, with you guys. You know, it's you guys that make us be here. I love to hear you guys' opinion all the time. I know sometimes we're not going to be in the same program, but you know, there's always a way. Congratulations to the officer. It's something like that leads to something with our public safety. Same with fire and everything. That's how it starts, and we always have to fight to try to make it happen. We try to make, you know, where we even if there's a slight error, we could do it. We could do that. Sean, thank you for getting on that valley gutter. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So once again, to Public Works, Water Plant, thanks for doing the job you guys are doing, and keep it going.
Okay, Councilman Atkinson, anything?
I officially turned in my resignation papers, so my last day will be June 2nd. So for all those who are saying that, thank you. All those who are saying it was just for show, no, it's not.
Councilman Vosberg?
Yep, and I am using my phone for a second because I did send something to Sean earlier that I wanted to report on, and this is the easiest way to get to it. The desalinization project got a $5 million boost from the state, and in the article from Fox 26, they say, they're talking about once in operation, the pilot project will work to remove brackish groundwater from the west side upper aquifer and use salt-tolerant plants to remove salts from the brine. This water will then be distributed to communities of Kalinga, Huron, and Avenel. Now, I know that there's a lot of stuff that staff is involved in, so I don't know exactly how this works out, but I did want the public to know that You know, this is something I think that staff has been working on with the state and with other people to try and get this money in, and I appreciate it. Westlands Water has definitely been working on this. So that's one thing. And then the second thing, which I'll probably let the mayor talk about this, but the mayor and myself went to League of Cities, and so he should probably be the person to fill you in on that.
Councilman Hitchcock.
I'd like to thank code enforcement for going around trying to get people to cut their weeds. I've been doing a lot of traveling lately in a lot of different cities, and ours doesn't look too good compared to a lot of other cities around the country. You see a lot of our businesses that should be taking care of their businesses, that could be, that need to look better to make our city look better. If we're gonna draw a new business, the ones that are here need to step up their game a little bit and make a better appearance for our community. And our community needs to step it up too. Like I said, I've been traveling a lot, and I think we all can. We all need to get involved and help out.
I got one more thing. Thanks for reminding me. As you guys know, okay, and I'm gonna tell the whole community, stop dumping your stuff outside. You're gonna get exposed, okay? You're gonna get exposed. This is going to the community, whoever's doing it. If you are gonna hire somebody to clean up your backyard, if you're gonna hire somebody to clean up your front yard, whatever it is, call something. Make sure you get a receipt from the dump. You as a community, you're paying these people to take your trash out, but it's ending up in the creek with names, with their bills, with their information. So as the community, ask for a receipt. And don't ask them for 2 days. Ask them when they dump it, they need to come back and give it to you. Because if you're paying them your own dollars, and if your name comes up there, guess what? You're gonna get the fine. So let's start doing that. Because like I said, I'm working on that fine, and it ain't gonna be pretty with smiles. Okay, so don't sit here like we didn't warn you. So please.
Trying to add what Councilman Ramirez said. I've talked with the county, and I've also talked with the state about the trash issues we've been having. That is the county's responsibility in the end. They are going to come over here as soon as the creek is close to dry, so that they can go take a tour of exactly what they have to clean, and the same thing with the outskirt roads as well, getting those cleaned up. Because it's not really shouldn't be on the citizens to do this, when we have other citizens that just really don't care. So if we have the county in there to help, we'll be able to do more and get it cleaner. So it will look nice around here. So they are working on it. Now, me and Councilman Vosberg went to the League of California Cities. It was a summit in Sacramento last week, Wednesday through Friday. And there was quite a few things they went over. The biggest ones that every meeting I went to, the main two ones were homeless and public safety. Those were the two main concerns. Some of the meetings that I went to, I was able to get with some of the lawyers that are there, that are here in California, that have other ways to help us have a direct line for abatements for like the bad areas that are having a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs, and the red light districts for the habitual. They have the direct way to get out of that, get them out. So that way they're either not allowed back in that area, that house, or the city. So those are some things that we're working on right now, and I know the chief is working on an ordinance to modify, so that way it makes it easier for them to do their job and more safe for the citizens themselves. The next item, I've got a few of them. So the next one, these right here. We got some shower heads in, and we have the shut-off valves. If any of the citizens would like to come and get them, right now we have 30 of the shower heads available, and we have 70 of these lockout valves. So you would need to take your current utility bill or an ID, so that way they can at least pull your address up, prove that you live there. You just come in to where you would normally pay your bill, and they'll have the items there readily available until we run out. If we get close to out, then we will work on trying to possibly reorder some more, so that way other citizens can come and get them. But this will definitely help save water for us, especially since we're not out of this drought yet. There's still, even though we've had a lot of rain, we're like 228% above average. We're still in a 5-year drought for the next 4 years. So every little bit helps. Even if you don't necessarily use it during the winter time, at least during the summertime. So we have plenty of them. Like I said, just take a current bill or your ID straight to where you guys would pay your bill at the window. Okay, the next one. On May 15th, we usually, the first Monday of every month, we've been having Josh Babcock, representative for Congressman Duarte. He's been coming once a month. He's been coming in the mornings until lunchtime. This following month, on May 15th, he will be here from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until closing. So that way, if there's folks that would like to come in here and voice their opinion, ask questions, or have some research done, that's what he's here for. And he will do it. He's actually pretty thorough. The next one on May 2nd, our 40th anniversary, we are having Congressman Duarte will be here in the morning. He's coming to meet with staff, and he will be going on a tour of our city water plant. After that, he's got a couple more meetings here in town with, I believe, some of the businesses. And at 4:30 that same afternoon on the 2nd, he is going to be at Cafe 101, and he said if there's any citizens or anybody that would like to go over there and say hi, talk to him, voice your concerns there, you're more than welcome to go. And he'll probably be there, I know, at least an hour. I know he's really busy, but if we get enough there, he'll probably stay a lot longer. So, and if you haven't met him, go meet him. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for tonight. So, any future agenda items? Councilman?
So I just have one, and I'm looking at my phone again because I just want to make sure that I put this in correct. So I know that the city has some plans to help and fix that bridge out there in District 5, where from the trailer park into town. And I went out there and I was looking with a buddy because he wanted to see the old tracks. And basically what it is it's railroad tracks, but they put concrete over them so that you can walk across it. Well, what's happened, I don't know if this is recent, I think it probably is, where like a sinkhole at the end of the side happened and it dropped a whole section down of the concrete. And so now there's 2 boards where people are walking across, and it's completely unsafe, and I'm really worried that there's going to be a child. We're not talking about holes in the fence now. We're talking about, like, if you slip, you're gonna fall down, and you're gonna get stuck, or even worse, go into it. So I don't know what the city can do on this, but I would like to see the city find some way to either provide a temporary fix for the or, I mean, I know this was really controversial to shut it off, but, and I know that people are saying there, hey, I'm willing to take the risk, but when you get a 7 or 8-year-old that's out there by himself and he's running across that and he slips and falls in there, there's not gonna be anyone to help. And so I just think this is an issue that at some point the city should get involved in.
Maybe talk with, is it something that we can really do anything to, like bringing in Public Works to drop gravel or whatever? Because I know I've been out there, the whole cliff is sloughed off underneath the bridge.
So we can't talk about it because it's not on the agenda yet, so we can when it comes back as an agenda item.
Any other items? Okay, with that being said, meeting adjourned until May 4th.
And we have closed session.
And we do have some items in closed session. One item. With that being said, meeting adjourned.